Almost got a detention for being late.
You guys need us to scoot down, right?
Good evening, everyone,
You guys need us to scoot down, really good.
and welcome to the Aurora Area League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for the Aurora Mayoral primary. The League of Women Voters was founded in 1920, just before the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Since that time, we've registered voters and supported voting access across the country. We believe the best way to defend democracy is by educating voters, which brings us to our forum tonight. Tonight, you will hear from 5 job candidates for the position of Aurora Mayor. Listen to their answers. Let those answers guide you as you fill out your ballots on February 25th. Your vote is your voice in our government.
Hi, my name is Barbara Lymans, and I'm from the Wheaton League of Women Voters. I do live in West Chicago, therefore I'm not able to vote for any of the candidates tonight, and I'll be serving, as I said, as your moderator. Once again, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization founded in 1920 that encourages informed and active participation by citizens in government. The League does not support or oppose any candidate for office. The candidates who have agreed to participate in tonight's forum for Aurora Mayor are Jasmine Garcia, Karina Garcia, John Lush, Judd Lofshe, and Ted Messiascos. Throughout the history of the League of Women Voters has been providing opportunities for candidates seeking public office to speak directly to the voters through forums. A forum is not a debate. The League of Women Voters strongly encourages candidates to use their allotted time when answering questions to inform voters of their goals, vision, and plans so that voters can make an informed decision on the positive contributions they intend to bring to the community. The candidates this evening have agreed to abide by the ground rules established by the forum, which specify the format, time limits, and appropriate conduct. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their 2-minute opening statements. They will then alternate the order in which they answer questions for 1.5 minutes. After the question portion of the forum, each candidate will give a 1-minute closing statement, continuing our alternating pattern. A member of the League will act as timer, and I will enforce the time limits. Should a candidate exceed the time limit, I will ask them to finish their sentence and move on to the next candidate. To ensure that questions for tonight's forum represents a balance of topics, a panel of experienced League members will review submitted questions for appropriateness and to avoid duplication. To our audience, I would ask those here in attendance to please turn off your phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask that you be respectful and refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or opposition of a candidate. To the candidates, I want to say how appreciative we are that you are not only willing to serve in office, but have agreed to be here tonight to share your ideas and goals. So let us get started. Candidate Jay Garcia, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Jasmine Garcia. I am 29 years old, a daughter of Mexican immigrants, a wife, a dog mom, and a lifelong Aurora resident who is sick and tired of struggling with the cost of living as do-nothing career politicians and developers fill their personal pockets. Before I continue, I ask for permission to speak. I ask for God and our ancestors for the wisdom and courage to speak truth to power. I acknowledge the land we occupy and the relationship we hold to it. I serve on the Fox Walk Overlay Design Review Committee and have served as a Democratic Precinct Committee for almost 4 years now. For almost 3 years, I worked as a development coordinator for KWCC, a general contractor with close ties to Richard and Warman. I, like many in my generation, went to college. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in urban planning. I am struggling with student loans. I rely on food stamps and Medicaid. And it is impossible to find affordable housing here in the city of Aurora. My vision for the city is a city that runs on new ideas and works for everyone, not just for Richard and his friends, some of which are here tonight. Remember, some of these alder people are up for re-election on April 1st. Richard had other plans. This campaign has been a learning experience for all of us, really. But I am still here. Richard tried so hard to get me thrown off the ballot, not to share my ideas, and to not represent the most vulnerable communities that he has neglected. I think the least he could have done is been here with us tonight to show his face to the woman he challenged, instead of hiding inside his penthouse in downtown. All jokes aside, I am running on the platform. B for ballot initiatives. R stands for Renaissance, a renaissance of the arts, of ideas, of green spaces, of how we connect to the river, the land, and each other.
Thank you so much. Candidate Kay Garcia, you now have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. My name is Karina Garcia.
Is our tech person here? You're trying turning it off.
Maybe try turning that one on.
That one's off.
So maybe try that mic. Turn this one off and then just have that one on.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
My name is Karina Garcia, and I'm running for mayor. I moved to the United States when I was 9, and ever since I can remember, my family and I have volunteered for our community. I'm running as mayor now as a single mom, and I've seen the struggles in our community. I've seen how one of the things that was mentioned earlier was about school, education, making sure that education is equal for everybody. We live in a very diverse community. I've always been part of very diverse communities and groups, and I want to make sure that we continue to do that. One of my major things is about also not just education, but also our community needs that foundation, that we focus on the issues such as making sure that mental health it's addressed. It's something that is not addressed right now at this moment for our kids and for our families. Another thing is, what about economic and jobs, right? We talk about Aurora being like the second largest city, but what about the economy that our members are suffering right now? That is one of the major things.
Was an early voice supporting the addition historic move to get buses in District 131. I'm a union carpenter, a green builder, volunteer organizer with Northern Illinois Jobs at Justice, and I ran for Alderman at Large, which is a job that I currently have, when the urban administration decided to give $58 million of our tax money to the Hollywood Casino to move from downtown out to the outlet mall. I was elected by a 17-point margin, which means that the community agrees with me on this issue. I've lived up to my word. I voted against $58 million TIF, consistently voted against other pay-to-play schemes and sweetheart deals for developers that use our tax dollars. I'm running because we have two Auroras. One that works for incredibly well, developers, campaign donors, and the politically connected few. The other Aurora, the rest of us, who have to play by the rules, wait in line for building permits, who are struggling with the cost of inflation and paying higher taxes to subsidize the one Aurora. As next mayor of Aurora, I'll be a voice for all of us. I'll fight for more living wage jobs, for working class housing, climate and environment, ethics reform, and be someone who listens to you. If you're tired of bought and paid for politicians, I don't take any money from corporate PACs, anybody that does business for the city of Aurora or wants to do business for the city of Aurora. I will work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lashley?
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and Barbara for moderating. I'm a lawyer and a commercial realtor, and I've lived and had my business in Aurora for over 30 years. I have a lifetime of community service, and I do a lot of pro bono work for Hesed House, the food pantry, and 30 years ago, I started Streetwise, the homeless organization. It's provided 13,000 jobs to homeless people. I've been alderman for 4 years. I'm currently on the East Aurora School Board, and I'm really excited because one of the things I campaigned on and pushed for is to have a vocational center. So across from the DMV on Indian Trail Road this spring, we're going to start building a vocational center like West Aurora has to teach our students the trades. Friends, Aurora is $1 billion in debt. We have $500 million in unfunded pensions. And if you go to the City of Aurora website and look at the 2025 revised budget, it shows revenues of $633 million and expenses of $759. That's a $126 million deficit. Hopefully it's a mistake, but I don't think so. It's very, very scary. And if I had a pension, I'd be very scared. It's difficult to do business in Aurora. I've helped 50 businesses open up. And sometimes permits take 6 to 12 months and they should take 2 to 3 months. I know how to fix that. I've been doing it my whole life and I can do it. Lastly, I have a concept called the Aurora Promise. It's a proven concept all over the country where we provide scholarships to qualified high school students to send them to community college and vocational school. We need to invest in our youth. You know, when I'm out knocking on doors, I hear that youth can't wait to leave Aurora. There's nothing for them to stay. If we had a better workforce, we'd get better businesses and be able to keep our youth here. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Masakos, your 2-minute opening statement.
Messianicos.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's perfectly all right. My family always said, you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late for supper. When do we begin?
Right now.
Well, good evening. I'm Ted Messianicos. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Aurora for hosting this forum. I grew up in a household on Aurora's east side with immigrant parents from Greece pursuing the American dream. After my mom passed away when I was 10 years old, I was raised by my father. My dad was a proud union machinist here in Aurora, who taught by example the importance of an honest day's work. I'm raising 2 beautiful kids here in Aurora with my wife Kate, a 3rd grade teacher in the neighborhood where I grew up. My personal experience and career have revolved around planning and building infrastructure projects, which give me a unique background on our city council. As an architect, I have worked successfully for the past 3 decades with school districts and municipalities in achieving realistic goals and within budgetary limits. Building a better future requires communication and collaboration. My front row view of the current administration has made it clear that Aurora has lost its way. But with sound leadership, we can build an Aurora for everyone. As alderman, I started new neighborhood groups with a focus on public safety, quality of life, and community connection events. I prioritized ward-funded programs for home improvement and small business grants in our neighborhoods. I personally understand the daily challenges and sacrifices that our immigrant community, our seniors, and parents like myself face to raise their children in an affordable and safe community because I have lived those challenges. I am honored to have the endorsements of community leaders we trust, Senator Dick Durbin, Congressman Bill Foster, County Board Chairs Corinne Pirogue and Deb Conroy, Sheriff Ron Hain, Senator Linda Holmes, and Marilyn Weisner. My career and life experiences lend themselves well to serving as your mayor, and I will be devoted to keeping our communities vibrant. Aurora is strong when our neighborhoods are strong. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will begin with Karina Garcia. And the question is this: how will you work with small businesses to ensure their success despite economic trends?
I'm already working with a lot of the small businesses. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that are trying to open their business, and one of the issues that they always come across is either legal advice or the permits department. One of the things that I've been working is a lot. We work with the governor to make sure that the fundings that are available for our businesses, we can bring them here. I think Aurora could do a little bit better with finding that money. There is a lot of organizations that the city is holding right now to help the businesses, but the resources are not really open to everyone. And I'm going to make sure that we streamline those fundings that are available and also the resources and the tools for everyone to make sure that they can open their own business without any issues or any problems. A lot of the rules and regulations that are right now are very strict for a lot of the small businesses. And we're talking about just corporations that are able to have access to the grants or able access to any funding that is available through the city. So I'm willing to work with understanding more of the small businesses.
Thank you. Candidate Lush.
Thank you. First and foremost, what we do right now is we subsidize a lot of big developers. And what this does is it's driving up the cost of rents. If we invest millions of dollars into a development deal, and then that developer has to pay it back, they've got to get that out of the tenants, which are often small business owners. So that's driving up the cost of just their very basic bottom line. Instead, we need to have more manageable effort to work with existing small businesses, especially in the downtown area. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a backwards answer, and I think it differentiates me from a lot of the candidates up here. We need to have a focus on bringing living wage jobs to our city. We've been subsidizing things like the casino and other businesses, hotels, grocery stores, things that don't bring living wage jobs. We have to lift the floor up if we want to have, so people can spend money at our small businesses and prioritize our small businesses and local businesses, right? But that's a big issue. If you look at all of our neighbors, Naperville, St. Charles, Geneva, they don't have the problem. They don't have to subsidize restaurants because they have an average median income, household income that's much higher, and those people can afford to spend money at small businesses. So that's going to be a big picture vision that I see for a John Lash administration.
Thank you. And Candidate Lofshy, how will you work with small businesses to ensure their success despite economic trends?
Right, so I have a small business, it's a medium-sized business, and I've been working with small businesses for the last 30 years as a lawyer and a commercial realtor. So I really understand what it's like. I understand what it's like to own a business, to make payroll, things like that. We need to create a more business-friendly climate in Aurora. Like I said before, permits are difficult. There's a lot of red tape. Sometimes it takes 6 or 7 meetings if you want to build a new building. People just give up. I have one on the west side. I helped redevelop West Plaza. There's a furniture store going into the Walmart, but I have a retail store that wanted to open up. Permit application came back with 50 comments. The lady said, I'm done. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to put in sprinklers and all this stuff. So we need to support them more and make it easier. You know, Aurora has some programs, but we need to make them better. We have a local preference that if you're within 5% and you bid on a job and you have an office in Aurora, you can get the contract. But we don't put that out there enough. Aurora also has loans for people, for first-time home buyers, but the red tape is so difficult that I think I heard at City Council in August that in the whole year, they've given 1 grant out. So instead of following the the federal guidelines, which are pretty easy and pretty reasonable, we have these super strict rules. So we need to just make it easier to do business in Aurora.
Thank you. And Candidate Messiankos.
Thank you. Presently, we have programs like the Finish Line program here in Aurora for businesses, but I've also had, before it was citywide, implemented a program in my own ward to supplement dollar for dollar infrastructure, I should say outdoor improvements on our buildings that look tired, make sure that they help boost neighborhood values, especially in residential neighborhoods. But also for downtown, we need design standards for our business community. More importantly, because it brings in consumer interest and to make sure that our streetscapes look pristine. We can't have our downtown looking not the way it is today, with patched up roads and broken concrete, not even for past 1 year. But most importantly, I want to make sure our businesses succeed and they feel protected. We can't have us downtown, when we had the Floyd riot several years ago, where we allowed the protesters to come downtown, and we didn't allow our police officers to do the job that they are trained to do. We can't allow protesters to break down windowscapes and loot and throw projectiles and rocks at our police officers who work for us, who want to protect us, but their families also want to know that they're protected. Thank you.
And candidate Jasmine Garcia, the same question.
Thank you. So my father actually is a small business owner. He has an HVAC company. So we definitely understand the necessity for small businesses to strive in Aurora. I'm tired of seeing small businesses get neglected. I mean, as Latinos, we are entrepreneurs. We're nail salon experts, we're hairstylists, we also have food trucks as well. It was a disgrace what the city of Aurora was trying to do with our food trucks, actually, was it 2 years ago? I thought that was very anti-small business, and there was definitely a lot of restrictions with small businesses. But like I said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. Small businesses definitely need help. Now with the new merger of the One Aurora, we are not really quite sure how that will work out. However, one time I was out here trying to get campaign fundraising donations for a nonprofit. And so I canvassed downtown Aurora, all the local businesses. I asked them if they could donate anything. They're like, no, I'm sorry, we can't. We can barely even afford rent. So like I believe it was Mr. Lash that said that all these market rate rents just keep going up and we just cannot, the small businesses cannot afford. Thank you.
The next question will begin with candidate Lash. And it's just to be more specific. In downtown Aurora, there are a few stretches of prime storefronts that continue to remain vacant. What is your plan to specifically activate those properties?
So first of all, remember that every time that we open up a new business, we're also taking business away from somewhere else. And what we've seen across the country is a change in shopping trends. Before the 90s, a lot of businesses were all in a downtown area, everywhere in the United States. In the 90s, we saw an explosion of strip malls and big box stores. And now we're even seeing those go vacant as people change their shopping habits to more online. And so we're seeing explosion of warehouses. And so we have all these vacant properties, both big boxes and small businesses. So we need to address that when the businesses are coming in, to have either a sell or demolish clause that puts the onus on the business that's coming in instead of putting the onus on the city that now has to deal with all these vacant buildings. So long term, that's the solution. But the answer is to work building by building to find preferably local business owners, people that come from the community, and find reasonable support measures to help that businesses. Judge's right, there's a lot of red tape. I've heard it from a lot of business owners, and it does prevent a lot of people from coming here. Very specifically, we need to have somebody from the inspections department come in the beginning of the construction instead of at the end. That way the business owner knows what they're doing. They're not putting drywall up and then realizing the need to upgrade their sprinkler system. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lashy.
So I think the first thing we need is a master plan. We used to have one, but we don't have one anymore. So we need to have a master plan and identify with stakeholders from all over the community what we would like to see downtown. And then we need to target those kind of businesses and go after them. The city owns a lot of buildings downtown. They own buildings on Broadway, and I know in city council, the mayor said, look, we just got rid of a building after 10 years, but it hasn't been for sale. The city's owned it for 10 years. So there's other buildings on Broadway, and if the city owns a building, there's no property tax. We have to maintain them. We have to insure them if there's a break-in. So we need to get these buildings back on the tax rolls, and we need to sell them, get rid of them, and find qualified people to run them, to open stores, and not just focus on restaurants. We have a lot of new restaurants. I don't know how many can make it. We've had a bunch open, we've had a bunch closed, right? We gave Amy more than $1 million and she closed. So I'd also like to see the facade rebate program brought back. I think Ted might have mentioned that. That was a good program. And if you go to downtown Plainfield, it's beautiful, the streetscape. We need to do that on Broadway. Downer's pretty decent, but Plainfield's really nice. They have music, they have lights. We need to do something like that to get people back downtown.
Candidate Messiankos.
Like I said, we need to help also improve our streetscape. We've had short-term successes in downtown, no doubt about it, and I hope it continues. But how do we proceed in an orderly fashion moving forward is very important. For example, Broadway is a main street that has approximately 90% of our businesses that have black awnings that unfortunately look like Funeral Row. We need design standards, period. We need someone that's going to attract the attention of consumers and also investors into our downtown. They need to know that we're taking that step forward to invest in our city, so they're coming to our town with their dollars as well, and not just with the typical developers that we have right now, the small handful, but we need to bring other people outside. As an architect, I see other communities, they have multiple developers working over each other to develop, and we need to start bringing that here too as well, and we need the right leadership to make that happen.
And candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Thank you. So yes, there is a lot of empty storefronts here in downtown Aurora and the surrounding areas. I serve on the Fox Walk Overlay Committee in downtown Aurora, so a lot of these proposals that get proposed actually go through us first. For example, we just approved an Italian restaurant with outdoor seating. I think having outdoor seating in downtown Aurora is a marvelous thing. I walk my dog in downtown Aurora all the time, and we love going to the businesses. A lot of them are very dog friendly, actually, so we definitely appreciate that. But yeah, we definitely do need to ease some of these building permit restrictions, just to make it easier for these businesses to open up, to remodel, etc. So yes, the storefronts, they definitely need a lot of help, but we also do need to evaluate all the businesses in downtown and see where that gap is as well. You know, I see a lot of businesses that are just literally closing down and a new business opens up maybe like 2 weeks later, especially along Downer. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of need for improvement, especially on LaSalle. LaSalle is a beautiful street, and if you've ever been there, Benton, LaSalle, there's a beautiful little tea shop, and yeah, I think it's just, we really need to.
Thank you.
Yes.
Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, we definitely do need to work in downtown. We do see a lot of development, and I'm so happy to see so many businesses that have taken the risk to open in downtown. I would like to see definitely downtown to be an entertainment center. We need to bring definitely our museums back to make sure that it's also created for our families and our kids. I think that is important that we focus and we see that what is it that the community needs for our city of Aurora, instead of trying to create a place for people to come from outside. We need to focus on what is it that our community wants. I would like to see more meetings with the residents to make sure that when there's development that needs to be done, that we make sure that we all are on the same page. We're not always going to agree on everything, but we do have to make sure that the needs for everybody are the same. I also would like to work more closely with the permits department to make sure that when any business comes to downtown that they want to open a business, that the rules and the regulations are more set in writing so that every business owner that is deciding to open, they don't come with any surprises. The other thing that I would like to also focus is bringing also headquarters to downtown to make sure that we do have reliable jobs for the people that are working in downtown and are able to shop in downtown, where we have retail and we have restaurants. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from our audience, and it starts with candidate Loshi. The area of Aurora that I live in is newer construction. We rarely see public officials at our events. What steps would you take to ensure that all areas of Aurora feel included in the city? And what efforts would you take to engage the newer or remote areas of the city?
Well, I think the Alderman's office has a pretty good staff. When I was an Alderman, I think there were 5 full-time professionals there. So I think communication with the Alderman and his constituents to find out what is going on and publish that better. We do have the Aurora Chamber, we have the Hispanic Chamber, we have several chambers, although I think 3 of them merged, but I think we need to do a better job of communication and find out what's going on in the neighborhoods from the neighborhood groups. Let's see. I mean, obviously, if there's new construction and new development, the city needs to make it a priority to go meet these people and to talk to them and have a neighborhood meeting and find out what their needs are and things like that. I always feel like we haven't done a great job marketing Aurora. I see other cities with TV ads and things like that, but we have a pretty good staff to do that, and I think we could market what's going on to people.
Thank you. Candidate Messianos?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The area of Aurora I live in is newer construction. We rarely see public official at our events. What steps would you take to ensure that all areas of Aurora feel included in the city? And what efforts would you take to engage the newer or remote areas of the city?
Well, first and foremost, our aldermanic positions are part-time. Typically, a ward alderman goes out to events in their own ward, and I would think that they would do it. I know once in a while they have schedule conflicts also, but I would make sure that as a mayor that all the aldermen are informed more than 48 or 72 hours in advance so they can clear their schedules or adopt their schedule to fit it in. But more importantly, we've had a website development project that's going on its 3rd year now, over $1 million that we've accrued for it. And once it gets up and going, which I will make sure if it's not up real soon, we need to have what other communities are doing. And that's recording these construction sites, doing live feeds or maybe even updated feeds on construction as it progresses. So everybody in the city, not just individual communities, can see how our projects are flourishing and moving forward, whether it's a private development or public development.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia?
Yeah, so I live in the far west side along Orchard and Indian Trail, and sometimes it does feel very disconnected. One of the things that I would do to connect all of Aurora, so it actually is one Aurora, is transportation. That's something that we really need, and that's one way that we can connect all of Aurora together. All this new construction, it is obviously cheaper to build new construction than to remodel any existing structure. So yes, I would also look at the design plans as well, because obviously the way that these new constructions are being designed are not inclusive. A lot of them just look like refrigerators, like these new condos. I'm not a big fan of that at all. So definitely just, making it the design, just having a more standard design, I don't know, something that's more inviting. I think it's very shameful that the political officials are not visiting these remote areas. I think my Alderman Franco, only has a neighborhood meeting once a quarter, and I think sometimes they get canceled. So I think every alderman person should be canvassing their neighborhood once they do step in office. That way they can connect all their constituents together.
Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, I think it's a little hard. Again, we are the 2nd largest city. I do believe that a lot of aldermen, it was mentioned, they're only part-times. I think that we should definitely make sure that we have priorities. I understand that, for quite a while, the city took over the ribbon cuttings when the chambers used to do that part. I think those are probably things that need to go back to the chambers and making sure that our elected officials are definitely building up a strong relationship with our neighborhood groups. There's several neighborhood groups in the area. I believe that we can make them stronger to make sure that we connect with the community leaders. We have such a vibrant community where we have so many community leaders that want to make a change, that want to give back, and they are doing things in their communities. I can see us having quarterly meetings with our community leaders to make sure that there's important events throughout the city where we can all be part of it and make sure that we can send our chief of staff, we can send people from the city staff to support our aldermen in their communities. That's what I would do.
Thank you. And Candidate Lush, the same question.
Thank you. First of all, I feel like I've walked this entire city over the past 4 years. And so if I missed a neighborhood, then I will happily come back. And I'm going to put it out there, my email and phone number. I will come to any meeting and I will come find out any problem in the city. I'm very active on multiple social media platforms and try to engage residents and answer their questions that way about upcoming agenda items and about issues in their neighborhood. I also go out and investigate things. When I heard about HelloFresh for the first time, I came out to that community to talk to residents and canvass not just the few that were complaining, but the whole neighborhood to find out what's going on and what could be done about it. So I'm going to put it out there. John4Aurora@gmail.com. My cell phone number is 630-878-7454. I've been responsive as an alderman. I'll be a very responsive mayor. Secondly, if elected as mayor, I'll do a citywide listening tour to make sure that I've heard all the concerns and also to share my goals for the city of Aurora and so that we as a community can have a back and forth dialogue about moving us forward. I'm not going to blindside Aurora by putting a big development project in somebody's backyard without first engaging that community. That has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't make me be mean. The next question will be with Candidate Messiankos. What is your plan for maintaining and upgrading Aurora's aging infrastructure? What is your plan for maintaining and upgrading Aurora's aging infrastructure?
Well, first and foremost, we need to focus on a few things. We need to focus on our lead line replacements here in the city of Aurora, first and foremost. We need to know that our kids, most importantly, are getting clean water, not having to worry about that every day to day, and the parents don't have to worry about that for their kids. That's important. And we do have extra funds to help accelerate that process as well right now in our city budget. And that's the first thing that I think we need to focus on at this point. And we talk about infrastructure too as well. We need to focus on what we do here in the city and how AI affects infrastructure. And I will tell you right now that we need to put the AI in Aurora, Illinois. And we have to be careful to be becoming reactionary. Technology is growing by leaps and bounds yearly, and we need to have an AI Bill of Rights for our city with true community input and guidance in order to guide us in staying proactive with the constantly emerging and developing AI developments for the benefit of how our city runs and for our community's future.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, it is more cheaper to build new construction than to update our deteriorating infrastructure. One of the things that is available to us are state and federal tax funds and grants for green rehab to just really modernize our buildings and make them into smart buildings. It'll just be more sustainable as well. So these options are available to us. But however, the city of Aurora, they just don't take priority in the green economy. I don't know if they believe in it or not, but they're definitely not prioritizing our future and sustainability and resilience. So yes, that's definitely a concern. I mean, even our water as well. I don't know if my household received a letter basically warning us of lead pipes. I think that we really need to address our infrastructure, and we should not be privatizing these trades as well. I think we should hire within and even create a department of resilience to basically maintain our infrastructure.
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia.
I think for one of the things that we definitely do need to work in is making sure that we make our aldermen accountable for their areas. Obviously, not every city, is the same. Not every part of our city. We have older houses in one area than in other areas. But we want to make sure that every alderman understands their community and make sure that we do build up a strong relationship with the owners of those houses and the buildings. Right now, we do have a committee that focuses, on the, I think it's most of them on the west side, where there's a huge area of older houses where we want to maintain the looks and, the structure of those houses. But then also, we have to think about, as everybody's talking about, the water. Fox Metro has a good relationship with our city, but there's a lot of things that we can definitely work with them to make sure that it's not affecting our family, that it's not affecting the health of our kids. So I think that would be like one of the things that we really do need to work on to make sure that it's something that it can be fixable, but it's not something where it's going to break into the people's pockets, because it is very expensive to do that. So I will definitely work with our state to make sure that we can bring some funding for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Lush.
Thank you. The 17,000 lead lines have already been mentioned, but we're also going to have to upgrade some of our water mains. A lot of this is being done with a federal grant. We don't know what's going to happen with that federal grant, but as was mentioned here, I think we're replacing anywhere from 300 to 400 in the upcoming year. We do have a 33-year plan, but that needs to be accelerated with respect to the lead lines. Number two, infrastructure around Wabansie and the Fisher Middle School. Parents need to be able to get their kids to school safely, and there's a lot of concern from parents in that area. We have successfully applied for a $3 million grant to provide a protected pathway. That hasn't been clearly delineated what that will look like or if we will get that grant, but that's going to be a top priority for infrastructure. Seeing the Orchard sound wall built, the sound barrier along Orchard Road, those residents are living in a nightmare. It's very loud in people's backyards. That's going to be a priority. I don't think we need to go to an SSA to do that. In the big picture, we also need to have bigger investments in all the wards to make sure that we have sidewalks, curbs, and street lighting. And we can do this by moving some of the riverboat money into the neighborhoods instead of necessarily putting it into a lot of the big development projects that are going on downtown. So John Lash will have a focus on neighborhood infrastructure improvements, and if I missed one, call me.
Candidate Lofshy.
So Aurora gets 2/3 of our water from the Fox River, which is kind of scary, right? Because they're removing all the dams for ecological reasons, which is great, but Elgin gets a lot of its water from the Fox River as well. So they've asked the Army Corps of Engineers, who monitors this, to review it, to make sure they're going to have enough drinking water. So we're downstream from that, so we need to really look at this. This could be a really awful thing if we don't have enough drinking water, right? We see what's happening in California. We need to study the effects of it. Oswego, Montgomery, and I believe Yorkville are combining together to get water from Lake Michigan. It's a very expensive project, but they're doing it together. It's $50 million. We spent $90 million on the casino, right? So look at the difference, right? $60 million on the casino, $20 million on the interchange, $10 million on the land. So this is something I worry about. And also, we saw in California with the fires, our hydrants, are they up to date? Do we have enough water pressure? Something we need to look at. Bridges are dangerous. I know we've done some work downtown, so that's good, but we need to make sure all of them are safe. And then finally, Aurora has a broadband going around the whole city. It's called OnLight. It's super high speed, but we don't use it. We need to get that out there, and people who maybe don't have internet or can't afford it, we as a city should help them with that. Thank you.
The next question will begin with candidate Jasmine Garcia. What are your thoughts on improving public transportation options in Aurora?
Ooh, I love it. So that's actually the T in my BRAT platform is transportation. Actually, last week I was just with the People's Lobby, hello Chris, just supporting and lobbying for the Metropolitan Mobility Act. And what that does, it consolidates all the 4 transportation systems, so that's PACE, Metra, RTA, and CTA into one, so that way they don't have to compete against each other for funding. This also expands transportation for the suburbs. So literally imagine being able to connect from Aurora to St. Charles in a bus, in a very rapid high bus. So I think that's really amazing. So definitely going down to Springfield and just really advocating for this Metropolitan Mobility Act is a very good concern. I actually commuted from Aurora to Chicago for my undergrad at UIC. So I had a semester where I did not have a car, and that was very frustrating. I had to walk from my house to the bus, and often that bus would never come. I'm sure we're all familiar with ghost buses, and it would be very frustrating. So definitely just consolidating all these public transit systems would be very beneficial. We're the 2nd largest city. It is ridiculous how we do not have a accessible and affordable transportation system for us.
Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, I think definitely working with Pace Bus would definitely be one of our priorities to make sure that the problem that we've seen in the past before, because we have conversations in regards to Pace coming here to Aurora, sometimes it's the language barrier. We have to remember that Aurora has 43% Latinos, and sometimes the language is the barrier. I don't even get, or I never used to get in a bus before because I was scared that I would get lost. So if I speak English and the people that don't speak the language, it's probably scary for them as well too. So we definitely do have to focus in those communities where the transportation is a huge need. We talk about downtown having not having enough parking spaces, but if we don't have that enough parking spaces, we can definitely, utilize the transportation like other big cities are using it. So to me, that's important to make sure that we do have transportation in certain areas that it's, especially like low income, as Jasmine was saying, transportation needs to be affordable. A lot of people cannot afford to get an Uber because they don't even have a bank account, or a credit card. So make sure that we understand our communities. I think that's going to be important for to bring transportation into our area. Thank you.
Candidate Lesh.
Thank you. So I also, like many of you, have seen these big PACE buses driving around the city empty. I proposed 4 years ago having an Uber-style curb-to-curb service, so pretty much modernizing and using that money to move to all-electric or hydrogen fuel cell vehicles that provide curb-to-curb services for senior citizens so they can get to their medical appointments and go shopping, for disabled, for veterans, making sure that people can make all of their appointments. We need to modernize that so people can use it. It needs to be made available through an app, through a phone call, and through online services. And we need to communicate that we have this service available for people so more people can get around. I would agree with Karina Garcia that it needs to also be bilingual and able to reach people in their own language. And then finally, while we're just talking about vehicles, I want to see the city of Aurora's fleet converted probably to hydrogen fuel cell vehicles or EVs over the course of time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Lafshy.
So I think we have to pool our resources better. Aurora Township and Naperville Township already have transportation. They have buses and vans. We need to work with them. Aurora Township has a great dial-a-ride for seniors. We need to expand that. We need to help, we need to get, as a lawyer, I've helped a lot of nonprofits start. Nonprofits love to get involved and help people, right? So we need to get them involved to help with transportation. They have the resources to do it. And PACE, as it's been said here, PACE, when I was an alderman, I got them to go through over towards the Route 59 train station. So we need to work with PACE to make sure that all people can get where they need to go, like to get downtown to work and to get to hubs. And I like the idea also of more bilingual. So that's it.
Thank you. And candidate Messianos.
Well, thank you. Our existing bus system our PACE bus system serves the communities with higher customer usage. In neighborhoods where access and usage is limited, there is still an option for residents for personal request pickup and drop off from PACE. We should be looking at having a discussion with Aurora Township on their existing ride and cane transportation program and see if there would be a benefit with its expansion of our seniors in our city via an IGA, Intergovernmental Service Agreement. But also, we need to look into the prospects of also bringing back an Amtrak train station and Greyhound bus service to Aurora downtown, especially to help it become more vital, bring people in and out, and have people have an opportunity to come to downtown and not only to our far northwest corner to pick up a Greyhound bus.
Thank you. The next question will begin with candidate Karina Garcia. And we're going to switch to more community involvement type of focus. How will you strengthen the relationships between Aurora's diverse communities?
I've been working with a lot of not-for-profit organizations ever since I moved in 2000 to Aurora. And I think understanding our community is what really makes us different. One of the things that when I first moved in and we started doing was we started giving free classes to the residents who were looking to become U.S. citizens. Education is priority for everyone in our community. We cannot move forward if we don't have the resources, if we don't have the tools, and if we don't have the help from our residents. I believe that, not only not-for-profit organizations are a huge support for our community, but also a lot of the groups that are helping. I see a lot of familiar faces today. They have helped not only in the community itself for the needs, but also starting like the pop-ups that you started, right? Bringing in businesses together, helping entrepreneurs to make sure that they succeed, because if the community succeeds, as a whole city, we're going to be able to succeed. So obviously, coming all together is definitely something that we need to work on and make sure we do a lot better work on that. Thank you.
Candidate Lush, how will you strengthen relationships between Aurora's diverse communities?
So I think I already talked about having a citywide listening tour and engaging the entire city. I think there's definitely been a heavy focus on downtown, but I think a lot of other parts of the city sort of feel left out at this point in the game. I think we need to have a citywide newsletter to communicate, and I'm not talking about a PR, I'm talking about a real newsletter that addresses what's going on in City Hall, important dates that are coming up, things like leaf collection, snow plowing rules and ordinances. This is how we need to better communicate with all of our residents, and then making sure that our website is also available in multiple languages to reach the residents of Aurora, not just English and Spanish. I do think that the current administration is doing a pretty good job trying to recognize communities by holding multiple flag raisings. I don't know that this is necessarily doing enough to meet their needs. I think we need to be listening to what those needs are, and then my administration will work with those communities specifically to address their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lofschi.
So the only citywide event that I can think of that's sort of multicultural is National Night Out. It's once a year in August. We need to have more events like that. We have so many committees in Aurora. We have a Hispanic committee, African American committee, an Indian committee, but I don't see joint events. And we have such rich culture here, the Latina culture. I've seen Ballet Folklorico. It's an amazing, amazing dance group that we should get into the schools and try and recruit people that aren't Latina to learn that kind of thing. So I think we need to just work together and have more events, and the city should be a sponsor for that. We have tons of nonprofit groups. I'm in Rotary. We have Lions Club. We have Exchange Club. We have Kiwanis. But we don't necessarily work together. In 30 years, I've been a Rotarian 25 years, we never had a meeting with another group. But each one of those groups, we typically support 5 or 6 nonprofits. Some of them are ethnic-based. We need to work together with the other maybe nonprofits to try and do that, to try and facilitate it. Someone's got to do that and take the lead, and we need leadership on that.
Thank you. Candidate Messiakos.
Thank you. We need to focus on making our community safe. We need to prioritize neighborhoods, support victims, and work with law enforcement. We also can help improve the infrastructure designs of our communities. Improve the community by reclaiming shared spaces, invest in and maintain shared spaces. Improve the design of the community. Make public spaces safe. Ensure public spaces are funded properly and well lit, especially at night. In regards to policing, the City of Aurora is presently moving forward with a staffing and strategic planning study for APD. We must always reflect on organizational needs to improve public safety, build trust between police and the community, and address the root causes of violence. That includes police accountability. Continue to ensure our police are held accountable for their actions and de-escalation protocols. We have to make sure every emergency phone call by our residents is responded to and immediately for shots fired. We also need to increase community engagement to help build trust between the community and focusing on fairness and how the public views police. And we also need continued focus on crime prevention. But also we need to ramp up policing efforts and visibility at our public spaces and parks.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yeah, so our mayor currently represents a Republican Party that is trying to get rid of DEI on a federal level, and I think that is a very, very sad thing, and it would just really trickle down to Aurora. Our diverse communities, as of right now, do not feel welcomed, and on my first day, I would make Aurora a welcoming city to make them all feel welcomed here in Aurora, point blank. I really would. Diversity, we really need. I love Aurora, it is very diverse. In high school, I would always attend all the ESL classes, and you would see Syrian refugees, you would see Turkish refugees as well, you know, and obviously you're Latinos too. So it's not just Latinos that we have here in Aurora, but it's also all these refugees from all over the world. So we need to connect them, and we obviously need to sponsor their education, but also have affordable housing for them as well. We need to make them feel inclusive and integrated into our community.
Thank you. Next question will begin with candidate Lush. And the question comes from our audience. How will you ensure the City Council will be civil and respectful to our youth and youth programs?
So I want to just say that this has been a wonderful forum with a lot of civility. If elected mayor, this is what city council meetings will look like, where everybody will be allowed to share their opinions, and everybody will be allowed to have a debate and spend the time that they need discussing the issue that comes before the Aurora City Council. The question was about specifically, I believe, youth advisory council, and I'm not aware of any absence of civility on there. I'm not on the youth advisory council, nor have I attended their meetings, but my entire administration will be founded and based on treating everybody with dignity and respect. That starts at the top, and I will exude that behavior, and I will work to make sure that every staff member does too, because we are public servants. We work for you, not the other way around. It will be a very hardworking, dedicated administration that seeks to serve the public and build civility and to build discourse when we disagree, make sure that we're talking it out and not getting angry and not excluding people, but including people. Thank you.
Candidate Lafshi, how will you ensure that the City Council will be civil and respectful to our youth and youth programs?
Well, I'm not sure if you mean at the City Council meeting, but I will start with that because it's been a problem. When I was an alderman, it was very contentious. The mayor and I did not necessarily see eye to eye. It was one Aurora, except when someone stood up to them, and then they were not, they were an idiot. They didn't understand. They weren't a team player. So I think it's just common courtesy to other aldermen, and as a lawyer, I understand Robert's Rules of Order. So there's a process to go through. But I think at City Council, we just need to be courteous and let people speak their mind, the aldermen. As far as to youth, can you repeat that part of the question? I don't think it makes sense to me.
How can you ensure the City Council will be civil and respectful to our youth and youth programs?
Okay, well, again, I think it's just common courtesy that our youth is the future of Aurora, and we need to build them up and make them brighter. And that's why I have the program to send kids to community college and vocational school, because they are the future, right? And I'm worried because we're leaving the future this huge credit card debt. We're spending $200 million on projects this year and last year, and they're going to pay it. A lot of us will be gone, but they'll have to pay it. So I think just embrace them, enroll them in the future, and build them up. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Messiancos.
I find that a very intriguing question. I appreciate the person who asked that one. For someone who went 8 years to Our Lady of Good Counsel and taught by nuns of the Franciscan Order, I will guarantee you that we will have unapologetic civility when I'm mayor. No more of apologizing and asking everybody to forgive them if it happens again. That really doesn't make sense, especially for someone who's trying to make an example for his children as well, and for all the kids in my ward and the city whenever I go to a public function. But more importantly as well, how do we respect them? They need to know that they're appreciated. And we need to go and make sure that we attend as many programs as we can for our kids more than anything. I'm a strong supporter of the Alive Center, for example, that provides a space for our youth to grow and thrive. Every child in Aurora deserves to feel safe and comfortable in a community that supports them. But also in my ward, I facilitated a positive relationship between the ARM Center and also a not-for-profit to help get that up and going in our ward for our community and our students for after-school programs. It's working wonders in hometown.
Candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yeah, so obviously I am the youngest one here. I actually just celebrated my 10-year high school reunion this past summer, go Blackhawks. And so yeah, definitely getting the youth more involved in politics and our local government is very essential. I was lucky enough that as a junior, I actually met Barbara Hernandez. She was actually working for Representative Linda Chapalavia at the time, and she was a very great mentor for me. Literally, she ended up taking my best friend and I, Mireya, to go get our nails done for prom, and I thought that was amazing. I think that was also one of the biggest reasons why I am so politically charged today. So definitely we need to empower the youth. They are the future. We are the future, definitely. And what has been going on at City Council, I think, is a disgrace. I would have all the city officials sign and re-sign a civility pledge. I think it's so unfortunate that an alderman just this Tuesday broke the rules of public comment and refuses to even say that he was wrong and that he did break the rules. So what kind of message is that sending to the youth?
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, I think first of all, we need to start by making sure that at City Council we have a great relationship, not just as the mayor, but also with the aldermen, because everyone that sits in that position is there for the community. So I believe that we're all there for the same for the same reason, and we need to put our personal beliefs to the side and focus on what's really needed for the community. Right now, I serve on 2 different boards. I serve on the APS Training Academy, and I also serve on the Life Center. Both of those non-for-profit organizations believe in the strength of our youth. If we can be an example for our youth, how are we going to be able to make sure that they succeed and that they have respect for others? I believe that so far what I've seen is the Aurora Police Department trying to have a good relationship with our students, which is something that is really good. So we need to make sure that our aldermen and me becoming the mayor would definitely focus on doing that. Simply Destin is another organization that's been working in the community for our youth, and we need to make sure that we continue to support those programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with candidate Lavshi. We've had several questions about how will you address the need for more affordable housing in Aurora?
Well, I've done development and I understand the process probably better than anyone. And when we do these big developments and we give out these millions of dollars and millions in TIFs, we should ask them to set aside a certain percentage for affordable housing. They do it all over the country, they do it in Chicago, but we don't do it. We give millions of dollars, but yet there's no requirement to provide any affordable, except for, we did some workforce, but that was very small. But I think that would be one thing. I'd like to see us work on, if we had a master plan, go after. There are plenty of Chicago developers and suburban developers that build affordable housing, and we could target them. We have plenty of land. I've got 20 acres of land on the west side at Orchard and Indian Trail, zoned for residential. But we could use some incentives, but we would need some support from the city. And I think we could do it. I think it's important. We certainly don't have enough housing, and the market housing we have is very expensive. These new apartments, 600 square foot apartments going for $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month for $3 a foot. It's a lot. So it's hard, and I have a lot of clients, and people come to me for help, and there's really nowhere they can go. The Aurora Housing Authority has a long wait list, so we really need to make this a priority, and I certainly would, and I know how to do it by targeting it and going after it, and then asking developers to require it.
Candidate Ms. Jacobs.
Our existing affordable housing stock is comparable to the cities around us right now. We should be careful to avoid outpacing the towns around us in creating additional housing. I would like to emulate, though, a program that Joliet has had success with, where the city collaborates with local builders to build new homes on empty residential stock that the city owns today, and offering home ownership opportunities to qualifying individuals who would also shore up property values for existing homeowners in these neighborhoods and for our schools. The seed funds to build a new home would come from existing federal funding allocation opportunities available to the city via Federal Home Investment Partnership Program or Community Development Block Grant CDBG programs as well.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yes, so if I were to be mayor, we would abolish homelessness here in the city of Aurora. There's a lot of vacant land that the city owns. There's no need to recreate the wheel. There's already a lot of nonprofits, a lot of organizations that are already actually working towards this. So one of my proposals would actually be tiny homes in these lots, these empty lots for the unhoused. I've actually been volunteering a lot at the warming shelter at the Wesley Church, and it is very sad. The first time I actually volunteered there was 2 men there that I graduated with that were using the service. I found that very, very sad. A lot of people are just one mortgage payment away from failure and just being evicted, even for rent. We definitely need affordable housing here in Aurora. So one of the things I would also do is do rent control, especially for all these corporate landlords. we definitely need to do rent control. Each and every year, these landlords are literally raising up the prices, not just for housing, but for all these commercial places as well. So definitely addressing affordable housing is actually the A in the BRAT platform.
Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, I'm currently part owner of CBG Renovators, where we buy houses, we flip them, and we try to make sure that the material that we use obviously is something that is, affordable, to make sure that when we sell those houses, people in our community are able to buy them. What we want to focus again is on the needs of our residents for the city of Aurora. We don't want to focus on building homes that are going to attract people from outside, because that's what's been happening lately. One of the things that I also want to mention is that I was part of the Fox Valley Habitat for Humanity. What they do is an organization that they give the opportunity to renters to buy a house. They go through like the credit check, and they go through several different things. A lot of the times what we don't understand is that some of those rules that are set for those type of programs are not qualified for every resident for the community. So we want to make sure that we understand our community first. And as it was mentioned before, we have a lot of opportunity zones where we can build houses, and we can definitely build more affordable housing for our residents. Thank you.
And Candidate Lesh, the same question.
This is an area that I'm very passionate about. I'm also very much interested in seeing us make more energy efficient homes. I'm a strong supporter of Habitat for Humanity and have volunteered for them. Karina's absolutely right. They are the builder, the developer, and they're also the bank. And they don't provide loans to people that go above 30% of that person's household income, and it creates an opportunity for poor, disadvantaged people to buy their own home. Overall, I want to see the city move towards more home ownership and fewer apartments. I want to tap into the Illinois Climate Bank and other green building incentives. Ted already mentioned the CDBG funding is another resource that we can use. But currently what's happening across the United States is our housing market is being driven by Wall Street, and hedge fund managers are buying up rental properties. This needs to be addressed. One of the most egregious things that I've seen as a city council member is the DAC development, the East Bank apartments. We gave them $6.9 million in city incentives. That wasn't enough. They came back and wanted another $5.75 million. We as taxpayers are subsidizing that to 15%, and they're having $1,700 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Nobody in Aurora can afford that. $2,300 for a two-bedroom apartment. That's insane. We need to move towards more home ownership that people can afford. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Candidate Masiankos. You've spoken a little bit already about this, but the question is, what are your plans to improve police and community relations?
You're asking me to redo it, or re-answer the question?
Well, no, I'm not
No
asking you,
issue.
I'm just asking you
Okay.
just this question.
First and foremost, we need to continue to ensure, like I said earlier, our police are held accountable for their actions. We have to make sure that every emergency phone call by our residents is responded to. That's very important. Very important for people to feel safe and their children to feel safe. We need to build trust with the community, like I said, by focusing on fairness and how the public views the police. Make sure that our community-oriented policing officers start coming to all our community meetings again. That is one of their prime responsibilities and roles. And also, crime prevention and investing in community violence intervention, policing, and other programs that address the root causes of violence and recidivism in partnership with our other community partners. We are not alone. We have others that are here in our community and around us also. But also with community policing, they also need support. And we need to support by our public spaces, focusing on them, making sure that we have designs and design standards for our parks and our neighborhoods and how we move forward. Not just putting up sidewalks, not just putting up lights. There's an urban planning component as well. And we need to engage our planners here at the city to help us out, not only with that, with also our boards and our commissions to give us information how we create that policy for aldermen to make decisions.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia?
Thank you. Yeah, so actually, that is one of the things that I wanted to address here. It is very unfortunate that we had to do this forum here at the Aurora Police Station. A lot of our undocumented folks actually were very scared to come here today. They don't know what the future holds. They're scared to report on crimes that they've been victims of here in the city of Aurora. So we definitely do need to improve our relationships with our community and the police. And one of the ways that we could do that is by decentralizing our police. So having a more community approach. I think we're doing an okay job of it right now, but it could definitely get improved. There's just a lot of people that even have felonies that just will not even step foot in here at all. So we're already, so I just wish that this forum would have happened like at a library or something, just because a lot of people just didn't feel safe even coming here to the Aurora Police Station. But definitely just more community-oriented policing, decentralizing it, just really having more like coffees with cops. That works very well, and just, police officers canvassing our homes, our neighborhoods, just so we can see a face, get familiar with them, and just build on our relationship.
Candidate Karina Garcia?
Yes. What I would continue to do is work with APD as, a community leader and working with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I've had the opportunity to work with our APD department on several locations and in so many cases as well too. We have to remember that the police is here to protect us, and we're here also to respect them as well too. I think that mutual respect should be here in our community. One of the things that I would like to see is for them to be trained in finding out and recognizing the community that they're serving. A lot of the times I've been told, by several people that, one person was laying on the ground as they were watching, their daughter selling juice in the streets, just, as a kid, and the police comes over and then they question them if they're under the influence. Those are things that we need to stop to just assume what is happening in our community. We need better training because we do need our police department. We need to make sure that they're watching us, that they're taking care of us. And I think so far, the relationship that I've been able to build with our APD has been a great relationship. And I want to continue to do that, and I want to be able to continue to support them so that they can take care of our community.
Thank you. Candidate Lush.
Thank you. So the first thing I would do as mayor is try, and I actually tried to do this as alderman at large when I got elected, was to have a conversation and to look at and make a data-driven decision to see what kind of calls we're getting in through our 911 call center, and then make sure that we have adequate staffing and make sure we have adequate training to meet those calls. Throughout everything that you'll see my administration do, it's always going to be data-driven. So this is one of the things that I would do. Secondly, I think the best form of crime prevention is a good paying job, and I feel like I'm the only one talking about living wage jobs and strengthening the economy so that people can afford to live and that they're not crimes of necessity. 79% of the crimes in Illinois are crimes of necessity, people stealing food so they can eat. And then the third piece is I want to see us to have more engaged community after school programs, and this is not just the city of Aurora. We do have a number of good youth engagement programs, but I want to see cohesive library park districts, school districts that want to participate, nonprofits, and the city all participating to make sure that we're offering kids a safe place to go after school. So they're staying out of trouble, they're getting help with their homework, and they're getting some support for any extracurricular activities or interests that those youth might have. So that's going to be my approach towards public safety overall, but it all starts with data-driven decisions. Thank you.
And now, candidate Lofshin.
Thank you. So I think one of the best programs we've ever had in Aurora is community-oriented policing, where the police get out of the cars, they come into the neighborhoods, they go to the meetings, and they meet people. Because I think a part of our issues are communication and misunderstanding. We have a lot of great police. They do come to all the neighborhood meetings I come to, and they give statistics. We need to encourage people like you, people who really care, to go to the meetings, right, and talk to the police, and encourage our children to. We have school resource centers. I'm on the board of East Aurora. We have a school resource center. We need to tell our kids to talk to them. They're people. We need more events. National Night Out is awesome, right? They come with a bear claw. We have this mobile RV that's a police, mobile police unit. When we had the unfortunate shooting in Aurora, they brought it out, and we need to just interface with the police more, right? Get to know them, build a relationship with them. You know, things are done by relationships. That's what's important. And explain, you know, they have body cameras now, so, you know, if something happens, we have a camera, and the police do need to be held accountable. They're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But if something happens, we have this oversight committee, and someone needs to bring it to the committee and make sure the officer who maybe did something wrong gets some training, gets some retraining. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia, we'll begin with you. As mayor, 4 other states have eliminated qualified immunity for police. Would you consider eliminating qualified, or would you support eliminating qualified immunity for the Aurora police?
So I'm going to be quite honest with you, I'm not even sure what qualified immunity is. I'm not sure if our audience members, if they're familiar with that either. But I would definitely try to see what other states are doing, what the consequences are of eliminating them, and just really look at the stories and what the benefits are, what the unintended consequences are as well. But yeah, definitely, I would definitely want to learn more about qualified immunity, and I think we could definitely find a middle ground there.
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia.
I'm on the same page. I'm understanding exactly what the qualified immunity means.
And I can't help
Yes,
you.
I apologize about that. Yes. I will pass it to the next person. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Candidate Latch.
So qualified immunity means that if a police officer commits a crime while in the active duty, that they are immune and cannot be held accountable. I support police accountability. Nobody's above the law. That includes our police, that includes staff, that includes me as mayor, and all the elected officials. If we're breaking the law, we need to be held accountable. The actual issue of addressing qualified immunity, I believe, would have to be addressed in negotiations with the contract for the Aurora Police Department. That is a job and duty of the mayor, and I would work across the table to make sure that there was police accountability written into our contract along these lines. That being said, I understand that there would have to be a fair hearing process, and there's a number of other contractual things, so this isn't going to be easy to do, but there's going to be 2 sides of it on the negotiating table, and it's something that I would push for. Thank you.
Candidate Lofshin.
Right, I think that if someone commits a crime, they have to be accountable for it. I think a lot of the problems we have sometimes, luckily Aurora doesn't have that so much now, but tasers. When I was on city council, I asked if every policeman had a taser, and they said no. There was like 6 or 8 of them, and you'd have to check one out. I'd love to see every policeman have a taser. Instead of maybe someone getting murdered, they get tased, and obviously it doesn't work in every case, but when it could be life-saving, it could be life-changing, right? It's important. I have a great relationship as an alderman with both unions. There's 2 police unions in Aurora, the rank and file and the sergeants union, but I do think we need to discuss it with them and try to come to a resolution, a fair resolution on this, because it's important to have that relationship and community buy-in with them.
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia.
No, she already passed. It's Ted.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ted.
It's okay, no worries. Makes up for me being tardy to get in my chair when we started, correct? All right, we're even. I'll tell you, until you've had a ride along with our police officers, you really don't get a good grasp of what they have to deal with day in and day out. And you realize that they are human, they have families, they have kids of their own, but yet they put themselves on the line chasing bullets for us, for our businesses, and protecting our kids. We've already voted to have a civilian review board here at the city. We also have body cameras. In addition to today's society, we have cameras everywhere. In addition to residents who pick up their phones, iPhones, and record. But the police need to know that a city council, and especially a mayor, has their back the right way. Make sure they're allowed to protect our businesses downtown and our residents downtown in every part of the city. Not just words, but also actions. Being able to make the tough call and let them do their job and do it the right way and not being afraid. Because I've been on that ride along. I've seen what they have to go through. The unexpected twists and turns of a simple pullover car on a smaller violation that turns into a WWE match. And it's not easy on them, let alone chasing bullets.
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia. Now, what is your position on sanctuary cities?
Well, as a Latina, sanctuary cities is important for us, right? As I mentioned earlier, we're 43% Latinos here in the community, and I feel that every resident should feel safety. In previous administration, when we had the other governor, one of the things that we asked was to have a sanctuary state, and that happened. We don't see the reason of why our city should not be a sanctuary city, especially in understanding that we are the largest community here. Not only Latinos, but we also have other ethnicities that are undocumented as well too. If they're here to work and they're paying taxes and they're providing for their community and they're giving back, they should feel safe to be here in this city. They should be able to feel safe when they walk out of their house. The kids that are at home, I mentioned earlier before in all my social medias that when I moved here, we moved here and we were undocumented. And the scariest thing was to be at school and not knowing if you're gonna go back home to your parents. We felt unprotected. No kids should feel that way, or no parents should feel that way when they walk out of their house. Thank you.
Candidate Lush?
Thank you. So everybody's aware the state of Illinois, via the Trust Act, is effectively a sanctuary state, which means that the police cannot cooperate with ICE in detaining or deporting undocumented people that are living here. And there's a reason for that. ICE has wrongly detained US citizens because they grabbed somebody with the same last name. And as a result then, if we in the city of Aurora were to engage in that, then we would be legally liable. So we are currently in a sanctuary state. I do believe, because you cannot predict, if anything, the last 26 days has proven that you just can't predict what's coming. I do believe that we as a city, working with our legal department, working with community organizations and people from all sides, can draft a legislation or an ordinance that makes Aurora residents
feel safe, all of us. Thank you.
Candidate Lofsche.
So the current policy on like these mass deportations can be devastating to our local economy. I've talked to lots of businesses that their business is down 10 or 20%, and I'm sure those policies were not meant to hurt business, but we need to protect our businesses and our workforce because it's the backbone of Aurora. I think we have to be careful calling ourselves a sanctuary city because there's a lot of federal funding. When I was on council, we get a lot of federal funding, and if we go out public with that, I think we could lose a lot of federal funding. But like it's been said, APD, when we had issues, they do not cooperate with ICE, and we need to protect our people.
Candidate Messianos.
Thank you. As son of immigrants, I know the struggles that our immigrant community in Aurora face. We need to ensure that everyone who visits our city is treated with human dignity, respect, and civility while they are in Aurora. We should be able to assist visitors with our local non-for-profits in providing a warm meal and a bed while they visit, especially when children are involved. We should also be prepared to provide resident and non-resident immigrants information on our laws in order to aid with upholding everyone's safety and well-being. As mayor, I will continue our city's policy to not collaborate with federal entities that target our immigrant communities.
And candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, my first day, I would sign an ordinance to make Aurora a welcoming city, aka a sanctuary city. But there also needs to be some clarity to ensure that the Trust Act and any future welcome city ordinances are airtight. So Aurora could become the first city in the state to specify that the Trust Act prohibits law enforcement from cooperating with ICE, but also precludes other agencies from being deputized by the Trump administration to carry out immigration enforcement operations. So actually, the Trump administration has already deputized the US Marshals, the DEA, and the ATF on January 23rd of this year. He also deputized the Texas National Guard just earlier this month, a couple days ago. So we definitely need a local ordinance to clarify the Trust Act which will include any and all agencies existing that would be created, or any of them that would be created in the future. So nonetheless, there is discrepancies in coverage, and although at the state level, immigrant rights advocates are moving to directly address this issue, in the interim, we can and must and will introduce an ordinance that is foolproof and leaves no room for interpretation.
Thank you. Well, we have one more question for you. So you can breathe a sigh of relief that there's only one more. And we'll start with candidate Lesh. And this is the question. Please tell us your definition of ethical and how you will work to live up to that definition as mayor. Please tell us your definition of ethical and how you will work to live up to that definition as mayor.
I think that the mayor sets an example for the rest of the elected officials in our city. I have ethical behaviors, doing everything above board, transparent, and without influence from wealthy donors in the political process. We have a broken political system in the United States. It's bipartisan, it's every level of government, and it has to change. We have bought and paid for politicians because it takes so much money to run for office. And I'm gonna tell you, as somebody who's knocked on a lot of doors, it's gonna be very hard to change this broken system. But I do not take any campaign donations from people doing business with the city of Aurora and any level of government. I also think that if we want to change the broken system and be a voice for everybody, it's going to take elected officials knocking on doors and talking to voters and listening to what their concerns are, so they're truly representing the needs of the general public. But every system, our healthcare system, is bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. We're even now fighting a war over in Gaza, and apparently now we're going to be developing Gaza because of big political donations that come in at the federal level. It's insane, the influence that special interest money has. Locally, it's all development, 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 and we, the taxpayers, are paying to price ourselves out of our own community. So I also want to just, time's up.
Thank you.
Candidate Lofty, please tell us your definition of ethical and how you will work to live up to that definition as mayor.
So I think ethical means fairness, and fairness to all, whether it's, we need to be equal to everyone, regardless of race, gender, nationality, all kinds of things like that. As an alderman in 2019, I believe it was, I helped draft and shepherd through the first ever Aurora ethics ordinance. I was on the rules committee, so I pushed it and I helped get it through the committee. The city council agreed to it, and we have our first ever ethics ordinance with all kinds of rules and procedures for things that happen that are not ethical. The one thing that I didn't get, which I tried, is cap on campaign contributions, because we need that. If you do business with Cook County or Chicago, you cannot give a politician more than $1,500 for 4 years. We don't have that. We don't have that cap. And if somebody in some of these businesses have given politicians in Aurora $100,000, $200,000, $70,000, it matters. Even if it's legal, it's not ethical and it doesn't look right, right? It's just wrong. We need to stop the pay-to-play politics. And if I was elected mayor, I would get that through quickly, because it's just not right. And if Chicago's doing it and Cook County's doing it, why wouldn't we do it, right?
Candidate Messianicos.
Thank you very much. I will be a full-time mayor with administrative oversight. I will be setting the example of not creating an additional company or two in pursuit of grandeur business opportunities while mayor. If our administrative employees are truly interested in a career working for our city, then they should also be comfortable agreeing to not utilize our city vendors to support their campaign election efforts in running for public office. We have one of the most competitive salary programs and benefit packages compared to the surrounding cities and counties for our city employees. We need to hold our administrative staff to standards where they work for us, without pursuing additional opportunities to create or support a personal side business or two. Trust in government can be built by being transparent, communicating clearly, and being responsive to the public. As mayor, I will work toward enacting legislation similar to the state of Illinois that bars any vendor from bidding or acquiring work that has provided large sum donations to currently elected officials or individuals in the most recent 3 years that have run for a city elected office position.
Thank you. Candidate Jasmine Garcia.
Yeah, so actually earlier in this campaign, I actually worked alongside with John Lash, and we tried to pass basically capping campaign donations to $1,000 from anyone that has any business or accepts TIF funding from the city of Aurora. Unfortunately, that was challenged by Alderwoman Patty Smith, and so that ballot initiative died. A lot of these politicians are receiving money from vendors, from corporations, and that's not ethical at all, because once you follow the money, that's when you see who is controlling the narrative and who is controlling the government. So definitely just getting this whole pay-to-play politics out of our city is very important. T in my platform is also for transparency. So just really being transparent with our community, making sure that our city officials are, just being ethical and signing an ethical ordinance and pledging to it and holding them accountable, because a lot of these politicians, a lot of these alder people are definitely not. And you can tell where their motives are.
Thank you. Candidate Karina Garcia.
Yes, ethical for me, it means respect, it means fairness, it also means transparency and understanding our community. I believe that, once we understand that as someone that is serving the community, that we have transparency on everything that it needs to be done. A lot of us mention about the donations that are being made for politicians. There has to be a cap, there has to be terms. They cannot be sitting in the same position for many, many years. Because I believe that that's when they get lost and they forget what they're there to do, and that's to serve the community. Me as the mayor, one of the things that I will focus on is to make sure that when we sit there to listen to our community members, we treat them with respect. We make sure that we are there to serve them and not to serve ourselves, for our own benefits. I believe that if we can work on that and every other legislator can do the same thing, politics can be more different than what it is right now. People say, why do you want to run for politics? Politics is dirty. We make it dirty, and that needs to be changed. We need to understand that we're here to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's now time for closing statements. And candidates, you'll have 1 minute for your closing statement, and we'll begin with candidate Lavshi.
Friends, Aurora needs an experienced businessman to get us out of this financial hole we're in. You really need to look at the city budget. There's a $126 million gap, right? I'm gonna post it on my Facebook page, Judd for Mayor, the pages where you can see the revenue and the expenses. And if the current administration gets to build this $120 million theater downtown they want, I seriously think we could be in financial ruin. Other cities have filed bankruptcy and reduced the pensions and taken out the cost of living, and it would be awful for people who earn these pensions to not get them. And I really believe we're at a tipping point. I see probably half the people here, I know you, and you are all leaders in this community. So it's not just the 5 of us. We need you to tell everyone what is going on. It is super scary, and we could be in ruin. And we cannot continue the same thing. And if I was mayor, I would do 2 term limits. We need to prioritize our people, not just bricks and mortar. That's how we can pay for the Aurora Promise.
Thank you. Candidate Messiancos.
Okay. Tonight you have heard differing views on how our city can move forward. I have the proven experience as a business owner and alderman to lead Aurora as your mayor. I voted against both of the recent mayor's tax hikes. We need to avoid raising taxes before we have looked at utilizing our monetary reserves. As mayor, I will fight to keep costs low for working families and seniors. We need to partner with our community groups in revitalizing youth and after-school programs, ensuring our children have the environment to thrive right here in Aurora. I will restore trust in our city with real transparency and clear communication. I will implement a stronger ethics ordinance towards campaign contributions for city officials and department heads. That's why I'm endorsed by Senator Durbin, Congressman Foster, County Chairs Perot and Conroy, Sheriff Hayne, Senator Holmes, and Marilyn Weisner. Government and public service is not about one person, it's about all of us. It's about our home. We'll build a stronger Aurora from the neighborhood level up together. Thank you.
Candidate Jasmine Garcia, your 1 minute closing statement.
I am one resilient woman. Like a willow in the wind, I bend but never break, always returning stronger. Remember, cities do function to provide services for their people. We need a mayor and not a real estate agent that is working on commission. I love Aurora la Bella. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for us. I'm fighting for the working class. I'm fighting for the unhoused. I'm fighting for our city that has been misled and corrupted by the very few that hold power and wealth. I'm fighting for the future generations. As an urban planner, I'm looking at the next 10, 15, 20 years from now. I'm not interested in these short-term plans that make a quick buck at the taxpayers' expense. These politicians are nearing their midlife crisis and so out of touch with our everyday struggles and realities. I'm not even 30, and I know we have to invest in our people here in Aurora. Progress demands sacrifice, and we have sacrificed enough already these last 8 years under Urban.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate, hold it. In a few minutes, you'll get to applaud everybody. Candidate Karina Garcia.
You heard everyone, and you heard our beliefs. We are here to make sure that we make a change. I'm not only running for mayor, I'm running for our city. I don't have the experience of being a politician. I don't have the experience of sitting in office, but what I do have the experience is of what to provide to the community and how to serve everyone in the community. We talk about being a diverse community. What are we doing? Why are we not serving everybody? Why are we just serving the ones that are part of the plague? We need to stop that. I'm here to serve you guys, and don't forget, we are a community. We are here to serve and provide for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Lash.
Again, I'd like to thank the league and thank all of you, Aurora, for showing up. My name is John Lash, and I'm asking for your vote on February 25th. I'm going to offer honest integrity and also somebody who's going to communicate with you, listen to you, and engage our city before making big, precarious moves. At the core of what we need to do is we need to find a way to bring better living wage jobs to our city so we don't have to subsidize all the poverty level jobs that we're currently bringing into the city. I have a voting record that is very consistent with everything I've said here tonight. I haven't just voted against bloated budgets, I've also voted against the spending that's in those budgets. I can't do this alone. I'm asking for your help, not only at the polls, but go to johnforaurora.com, volunteer, sign up to help, take a yard sign, and please consider supporting our campaign, a people powered campaign on February 25th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, you've been waiting to do this. We want to thank the candidates for being with us tonight. Our democracy thrives when all of us are engaged. Attending and watching a candidate forum is an excellent way to be empowered to join discussions on local issues and make your voice heard. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and inspire your family, friends, and neighbors to do the same on February 25th. Candidates, thank you again and best wishes on the campaign trail.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so